Yep.
BJ from Game Gumbo. I've got my guests here, Josh and Daryl. I think I have Josh.
Yes, I think I am finally here. I got it working on the desktop.
Oh, good. Hey, Josh, we've been stalling. You know why?
Why is that?
Because we wanted to talk about this amazing game that's out on Kickstarter today, and we wanted you involved.
Okay, I'm here.
It's called.
You're here for the main event. Everything else was just.
It was all the appetizers. We did all the appetizers, but now we're going straight to the main course.
Great.
Hey, fantastic first day
Yeah.
for Burnt Island Games. Daryl Chow and Josh Cappel, In Too Deep. It funded already. I've got some pictures and we can show them. I got them right off of the Kickstarter. But if one of you could give the chat crew an elevator pitch, what is In Too Deep?
I guess I'll do it because Daryl's been talking for a half hour.
He's running out of voice.
All right, so in Too Deep, it's set in the future, and sort of civilization has collapsed down to a bunch of disassociated city-states, and an evil organization called the Syndicate tries to infiltrate and gain control of those places by cybernetically enhancing the criminals in those cities and then using them to take over the city. Now, we work for an agency that's dedicated to bringing down the Syndicate, and what we've discovered is that we can hack into the cybernetics of those criminals and control them. So via the criminals' cybernetic upgrades, we can have some degree of agency over what they're doing. And we start the game being able to control them very little, but as the game goes on and you become more familiar with individual criminals, you start to get more and more adept at controlling them, and you can sort of push them farther, influence them more, gain access to their special skills, and so on. Now, the whole point of doing that is you're trying to prevent the Syndicate from launching its final plot. You're trying to foil their plot. And the cool thing is, as you are engaging in crimes, sort of participating in having the criminals commit crimes so that you can gather evidence and intel towards foiling the plot, it's bothering you morally. You're picking up dilemmas as you do that, and varying degrees of corruption. So the more effective you are during the game, the more risk of corruption you're bringing on towards yourself. And at the end of the game, the player that is the most corrupt is going to lose a whole bunch of points, but only if the plot has been foiled. So that sets up a very cool tension between all the players, where one of us is going to be in too deep at the end of the game and is not going to want the plot to be foiled. But the amount of corruption we have is secret from each other. So you're never exactly sure if you're the one that has gone in too deep or if someone else is, and so on. So you can see sort of how many cards worth of corruption other players have, but you can't see the values on them. So there's a little bit of guesswork as far as which of us is going to be the one that goes in too deep. And there's a lot of fun second guessing about which evidence you want to put towards foiling the plot and how corrupt you're willing to be when you're committing these crimes. It's really
Can you map it out, Josh, or is everything pretty hidden?
The values on the corruption card, on the dilemma cards, range from 0 to 6 as far as the corruption goes. So you can get a vague sense of where people are if you want to average it out at 3 points a card, right? You can sort of guess about how corrupt other players are. And there's ways to sort of raise or lower your corruption as you go, but it's hard to know exactly how corrupt anyone is. You only know how corrupt you are over the course of the game, and that's going to influence how you behave during the game.
Do we see any natural alliances forming that get broken, things like that, or is that not really an element that comes out?
Alliances aren't exactly the way that I would describe it. You definitely sometimes get in a situation where there's someone who is clearly far out ahead of the other players as far as corruption goes, and then everyone seems to try to work together to foil the plot so that that player will be punished. So there's
I think there's also like changing incentives in the game. So sometimes you may want to work together one chapter, and sometimes you want to go against it. So I think that's kind of what makes the game dynamic. Like you, depending on
how the game sets up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the cool thing is that this aspect of it, the corruption and the going into deep aspect of it, is kind of even external to the actual gameplay of what you're doing in the game. The meat of the game, the real gameplay of the game, is the central board. New Dawn City is what the board is called, and all of us are trying to influence the same pieces on the board. So I mentioned before that you hack into the minds of these criminals. Well, any of us can be hacking into any of those criminals on our turn. So I'm trying to move around the same pieces and adjust the same environment to complete the criteria of the crimes I'm working on, whereas you are also doing the same thing and also influencing the same stuff around the board. So you're trying to sort of solve these puzzles by manipulating the same pieces that other people are manipulating at the same time, trying to get things in place for the crimes to be able to be committed.
That sounds pretty interactive. So there's some interaction between the players as we move around the board?
Oh, absolutely. There is interaction. Oftentimes you'll be sort of putting your foot into the door of other players and sort of getting in the way of what they're doing, more often by accident than deliberately. But we have built into the game a very deep and rich toolkit where players can sort of creatively think their way out of almost any situation.
So Daryl, the notes that I read about it talk about New Dawn City. There's a lot of thematic elements in the instructions in the Kickstarter and the talk. Where did this part come from? What did all the backstory come from?
I think I mean, for me, I really love the puzzle aspect, but I think the cool thing that we were able to do from this game is actually make the mechanics really part of the theme itself.
Mm-hmm.
So what I mean is that it's almost a game where there's a feeling that we wanted the players to experience, and then we kind of built the mechanics to make the players feel that experience, and then like that they just naturally kind of build its own theme around it. The concept of being able to control the different characters, that kind of lent itself to this futuristic theme. Because and then basically I think what was really nice about this project is that everything feeds into each other really well, and you can see that as you play it, it's quite a seamless, like the theme and the mechanics and the story, it's all interlinked.
So Josh, how far back does the collaboration go between you and Daryl on this game? Because you both listed as co-designers, right?
Yes. The very, very initial proposal for the game was mine from 12 years ago or something. A really long time ago. I entered sort of an outline for what is the puzzle aspect of the game into a contest, and showed it to Daryl at a game design meetup that we both went to, and he really liked it and had a bunch of great ideas.
Yeah, I still really like it.
Yeah, like he told me like he couldn't sleep because he was thinking about some of the ideas in the game. So I was like, let's work on this game together. So we started digging into it, and it was
we're waiting like six years to play this game. Still waiting.
Yeah. We worked for a long time on getting the puzzle aspect into place, and it was only much later that the sort of espionage and mind hacking theme came into it. For a while, you had sort of your own characters on the board, and you kind of had agency over characters. But when we made the step to have none of the pawns on the board actually be owned by any players, but rather you can jump into those shoes freely, that's what sort of made the theme come about.
That was the hook that really drove it forward.
Yeah,
right?
once we decided that we wanted that to happen, the science fiction theme of having a way for that to happen sort of suggested itself to us, and then everything really started to click and form into place.
Is that what these 6 represent? That's the 6 people you can kind of jack into?
Those are the 6 criminals that started the game. We've now revealed a 7th, and there might be more on the campaign.
Oh, no. I may have some pictures of that in just a second. So, Daryl, I can't think of a theme that is as far away from Remember Our Trip than this game.
I got one, Plantopia.
Yeah, our Plantopia, exactly. A life of a potato, remembering our trip, and jacking in neurally for a criminal
Or this
syndicate.
one.
Or coffee. Yeah. Daryl, how do you do it? I mean, is it a challenge for you to have all these different levels of thematic interaction?
Yeah, I think. I mean, for each, of course, each project is its own thing. So like every time I go in, I'm kind of jacked in, just like the characters in Too Deep. But I really like. I mean, for each game, because I mean, a lot of designers, they always say like, I design mechanics first or I design theme first.
Sure.
To me, it's kind of like a bootstrap thing. The theme will inform the mechanics, and then the mechanics will inform the theme. Otherwise, you're going to either end up with like a really abstract game, or a game that is kind of like really well illustrated but has like no soul. So to me, no matter what the theme, and of course, I love collaborations. I love different themes. I like to kind of challenge myself with a lot of different mechanics.
Yeah.
But for each game, yeah.
I was going to say, for In Too Deep, Daryl and I had long conversations about, like, to what he's talking about here is we're trying to drill down into what do we want players to feel when they're playing this game? What do we want them to experience? What do we want them to agonize over?
Right.
What do we want them to, how do we want them to view other players in the game? And then how can we craft a system that's going to create the playground for those emotions and experiences to happen in a way that's logical and makes sense. And we tried a whole lot of different things before landing on this system that really smoothly and elegantly creates that.
Helena said she's got the answer for how he can do all these different themes. It's because he's just a really amazing game designer. It's just that simple.
I mean, Steve, there may be a conflict of interest there, but
right.
But yeah, thanks, Helena, for the support.
And that's Elena, of course, from Burn Island Games. So, and thank you, Elena, for setting all this up for us. I really appreciate it. Steve says, have you guys thought of another idea, hacking into a corrupt potato to corner the black coffee black market?
Yeah, that's the next game. We actually already did think of that.
I'm seeing expansion possibilities. Hey, thinking about the Kickstarter, we've got the modular boards that you're going to see in the Kickstarter page, but there's also some exclusives that I thought we might want to talk about, Josh.
Okay, sure.
Tell us about the criminal miniatures.
Okay, in the retail version of the game, you'll get very nicely illustrated, beautiful art standees for the criminals. But for the deluxe edition, you're going to get these awesome miniatures that were modeled by Francesco Oru for us. He's a really good minis modeler. If anyone's looking for someone who can do fantastic work with very minimal direction. So these miniatures are just going to sort of help your game come to life and help you immerse yourself into feeling what these criminals are capable of while they're in action around the board. And all of them are these sort of nefarious figures that have different powers and abilities you can access during the game.
Yep, and take a look at this one. So it looks like they've added one more, the Ghost, a new criminal that would come out already. Is that right?
Yeah, she's we haven't hit that stretch goal yet, but we've revealed it now. So that one is up next. That'll be the next stretch goal that we hit. And the Ghost is a really good one because in the game, there are blockades that prevent you from moving from zone to zone. And she can just ignore them, fly right through them because she has sort of stealth technology. And also a lot of the crime criteria when you're trying to complete something during the game requires you to have a criminal that's alone in a district for a burglary or a kidnapping or something like that. But she's always considered to be alone no matter who else is in the district because of
Daryl, take a look at that miniature, man. Look at the kinetic energy that you see from her. I mean, Ghost almost looks like she's in the middle of a run. Doesn't she look like? But where she's kind of fading out, but almost in the middle of a run. I like that.
Yeah, I think the Sprinter has a similar kind of feel, and yeah, I mean, the miniatures are just awesome. Like, I've never actually played with the miniatures myself, so I'm so excited to be able to actually play have a copy that has these miniatures.
And what is the Sentinel that we're looking at? Oh, yeah, let me take a look at that. Show that again there, Josh.
This is a very roughly 3D printed one. So this is the size. This is with the ultimate size of them. This is just a sample that was made. This is the Smuggler.
Nice.
He's very good at getting his hands on items, whatever you need during the game. He can get it for you.
So what is the Sentinel? What's the gameplay aspect for this?
Daryl?
Okay, so The Sentinel is kind of thematically it's the enforcer. So like, and all of the people that you're controlling are criminals. So most of the time you don't want a Sentinel in a place that you are, but sometimes you do, and so that kind of creates kind of like a push-pull thing, and you kind of have added kind of brain power to integrate your plans. Where should a Sentinel be at any given point of the game? Where do I want it to be in future? Where do I want it now? And then players need to control the Sentinel back and forth, and that gives interaction.
I was going to say the Sentinel is part of the local police force. We're not like we're not the police. We're doing stuff that is separate from the local police forces. So the Sentinel is sort of a representative of the actual police force in the city, and there's other elements of the police. And sometimes they're going to get in your way, and sometimes you'll be able to manipulate them to your advantage. One of the Sentinel's great benefits is if you can get your hands on being able to control it, you can walk it around the city, and it can escort criminals around, even ones that you aren't currently hooked into. So it's a good way. That's one of the tools in the toolkit where you can get around your normal limitations and move some things around the city, even through those pesky blockades that most criminals can't go through. So the Sentinel is a very valuable tool, and also sometimes a pain in your butt when you're trying to accomplish something in the wrong place.
Big first day in Too Deep.
Yeah.
Burn Island Games already funded, and Josh, you're hinting at some little things that we're going to be seeing in the future.
Yeah, we have some timed reveals that are set up. So at 3 points during the campaign, we're going to be revealing some added content for the game. These are not stretch goals. This is just stuff that we wanted to sort of build a level of excitement for and reveal a little bit at a time for everyone. And then we also have stretch goals in addition to that, stuff that we're going to reveal ahead of when we hit those goals. And I mean, already you see that we're adding one criminal, and I mean, the cat's out of the bag. There are going to be more than one criminal, so we'll be meeting some new underlings as we go on.
Neat. And that is In Too Deep,
Yeah.
out from Burn Island Games, designed by Josh Cappel and Daryl Chow. It's out on Kickstarter right now. Big first day. Go check that out. There's some stretch goals that are going to be met, and Josh is hitting at some other big things. We want to see what's going to happen with that.